Hello and welcome to Wealth is a Team Sport. I am happy to see all of you today. I am actually coming to you from an international location, so it's kind of fun. It's about my bedtime, and I think it's about noon for everybody out there. But looking forward to this interview. For those of you who are new, say that three times fast. Welcome to the show. So my name is Tara Nolan, and I'm known as the advisor who helps you achieve and retain the lifestyle you want. And I've created this podcast because in my business, success starts with relationships. And, relationships have to start with trust. Trust is one of those key ingredients, but it's not a magical thing and it kind of takes time. It's almost like trust is do what you say you're going to do and then do it. And so people just need time to go, okay, she said she was going to do that. And that's what happened. And so this interview, what I do is I just interview people who are experts in their world. And because there's so much to learn, I think life is hard enough. And when you get a chance to learn from someone else's experience and mistakes, then it just makes life a little easier. And we have a lot of fun. So today we're going to meet Dawn Wellott. She is amazing. She has been in corporate America and now she's launching a business. So she's kind of got the experience from both sides. But we're just gonna have a lot of fun and learn about what she does. So let me just take a minute and read just a little bit of her bio. We're going to post the full bio and the website so you can go read all that good stuff. But let's get to it. So Dawn is a progressive leader integrating 20 plus years of leadership and coaching. She's a visionary who leads by influencing teams cross-functionally in order to reach a broader audience. She's a motivational leader who's authentic, and she ignites the spark in others by seeing people as who they are becoming. And I just love that. I'm going to read that again because I really love that part, is that she sees people as who they are becoming. And you need that person in your life because we are our own worst critics. So you need that person who's going to be your champion. But what Dawn does is she synchronizes high caliber teams to partake in strategic road mapping, and she allows corporations to embrace change. So Dawn, welcome to the show, the interview. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Tara. I cannot believe you're calling in from Germany to do this. So thank you. I really appreciate your time. I know it's late there.
Well, it's perfect. So, but and that's I think a few years back I said I wanted to be a citizen of the world, and I think it's happening.
I believe it is. You have accomplished that already.
Be careful what you ask for because it might start to happen. So, Dawn, before we jumped into a little bit of your background, I just wanted you to share with everybody this new business that you're launching and just kind of give us a brief overview. We're going to dig into it a little deeper, but just let everybody know what it is that you do.
Sure. So the company's name is smartmomgig.com, and we match women and mothers who have decided to stay home because of COVID or just because they've decided to get off the hamster wheel. And so they're now at home, but these are skilled professional women. And we match them with businesses, small, medium businesses that have extra work on their plate that they need done and they need top talent to do it. But they're also looking to save a little bit of money. And that's what we do. We work as a liaison matchmaker type of service to connect these two.
I love it. And that's just, there's such a need for that. And people now, COVID, if anything, proved that we can work from home and be quite effective. So that's a really, really cool. So let's just kind of talk about, what is your background? Like how did you kind of get to where you are starting a business? Because I know that you didn't just wake up today and go, I'm going to start a business. So what was your background?
I didn't. I actually didn't ever think I would have my own business. I was a corporate girl. I love the corporate world. It was a little hard for me to leave that, but I knew that it was time when, because of COVID, I also was without a position, and I had started this idea and company before COVID started. And I just knew that it was time, that this was my time to execute. So I come from sales. So I first started off in sales earlier in my career and then went to managing people, managing different organizations and companies and teams. And then I got into like the larger corporate America, working for media companies. And before that, really realized how important adult education was, and bringing my sales teams along, and not just a shot in the arm type of training, but really giving them more, and got deep into that, and then started creating training programs for larger media companies, and then took that to a bigger level of then bringing in efficiency and effectiveness into not only the L&D and training and adult education, but efficiency and effectiveness in workflow. So it's been quite a ride. I also worked as chief of staff, supporting some very high level senior executives, and all of those things. I believe it took literally every single one of those positions and jobs and different aspects in order for me to kind of see the full picture of what was needed, and possibly how to deliver it to create this company.
So I wanted to dig into that a little bit because you're going through your experience. My experience starting out was in the military, and I didn't learn sales. And for me, like that's been the hardest thing because I know about the management and the leadership and the efficiency and the training. And you started out like day one was sales. So talk to me, like, how was that? Like, maybe it was normal because that's where you started.
Well, I'm clearly an extrovert, right? I can wear the introverted clothing for a while, but I get tired. I get tired of myself very quickly. So it's actually really funny. When I finally went into sales, my grandmother of all people said, "Oh, finally something you're good at, talking." So so I believe it did come a little bit naturally. I don't have a natural or as much as a fear of rejection. We all have that fear of rejection. But I don't mind people telling me no, because it makes me realize that they're just not saying yes yet, and that there's something, a question that they have. So I believe that that's helped me through literally throughout my career. And sales is just a concept. It's just a word, really, because we all need things, and we all need to get them, and we need somebody to help us get that. If you're going to buy a TV, you may or may not know the best TV to get. You need somebody to give you that information. You just want somebody to trust in what you need, and gathering the things in life that you need, whether they're physical or emotional. And you don't want to feel sold. You just want to feel that somebody has your back, and that they understand, and would think like you. Like when you go to your doctor, you if they're giving you advice that you don't necessarily want to hear, I personally have said, what would you tell your mom, or what would you tell your sister? Is this the same advice you would give them? And again, that's also sales. It's just convincing somebody that they can trust you. Back to your point earlier.
I love that. And that's one of the things that I like about this business that you're launching is you're taking people who have these skill sets, and you are doing the business part. So like they just have the skill sets, and you're going to match make them so they don't have to get involved in the sales. They can really just focus on what it is that they're good at doing. And I love that. It's one of the really cool things.
I hadn't thought about it like that. I appreciate your perspective, but really, you're right. My job is to be the liaison, because businesses need this. If there isn't a shortage of people to do the work, there's the perception that there is a shortage of people to do the work, because those people are still there. They still exist. They still have the skill set. They just are stuck in the traditional mindset of, in order for me to use my skill set, I need to have a 9 to 5 job, a traditional job, or a part-time job. And so we as a collective need to change the philosophy that work can be done differently. And I hope that if there can possibly be a benefit of the pandemic, that's it, that we learn to think differently and think more as a collective on how do we approach things that support each other, such as how we work.
You're just making me reflect a little bit because I am doing some Air Force Reserve time. And one of the things I've noticed is it's the reserve in the Air Force is a really nice thing, especially for women, because a lot of women want to have their kids and they want to be home for that part. And that is not aligned very easily with an active duty career where you're moving and working long days. And so what my experience has been, because I was active duty for 15 years, is there's a lot of women in the reserve that come back after their kids, are, getting into high school and that level, and they're being able to finish their careers. And it's fun because they have all this expertise and this knowledge and experience. And it's like there's other little path for success that exists that I never knew about when I was younger. And I love that you're creating that opportunity for women because why should you have to pick between being fabulous at what you do and having a family? I mean, you shouldn't have to be either or, like you miss your window.
That's the exact question that we're all asking ourselves right now because of the pandemic. And it's not just women, it's men, it's millennials are asking themselves, why I've seen my parents on the hamster wheel. Why are they working like that? Are they really happy? And I realize this is taking the conversation in a little different way, but before the pandemic, women were already starting to leave the workforce, not necessarily men as much, but it was called opt-out. So I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of conversation previously about women opting out to stay at home. And it was this rising concern. Well, then the pandemic happened and everybody started looking at the fact that, yes, they can do this work from home. And yes, we literally have been trained since we were in school that you need certain skill sets and you take those skill sets and you take them to the workforce and then you work and you spend money and you need to continue working because you're spending money and you get in that mindset and it's a habit. And then we teach our children that habit because that's our existence. And when the pandemic happened, a lot of the work of, having for women and especially moms that have children at home, that came to their shoulders. And so they had to make a choice of what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? Can I be on Zoom calls and have kids doing, backflips in the background? That was my house. And so on and so forth. But it gave everybody the opportunity to look at their hamster wheel. And what was really interesting about the pandemic is that we all decided we were forced to take a look at it, even if you have been in a corporate job for 20 years and that was where you wanted to be. You thought you were ride or die with your company, right? Mm-hmm. But if once you start to look around on Zoom calls and all of a sudden, Fred, who's been with the company for 30 years, has decided to leave. And it's not just the young kids that are moving around or those that have different career aspirations. When certain people that you thought would be there forever, all of a sudden are taking a look at their options, that literally turns our internal focus to ourselves. And it makes us question, well, if they're looking at it, and I thought Sue would be there forever. Sue was going down with the ship, right? If Sue is looking at her other opportunities, what am I missing out on? And so it created that opportunity for both men and women to really look at themselves and do some reflection and decide if they were happy and if the work that they were currently doing was fulfilling and what they wanted to do. So again, I took that in a whole different direction, but it's, I think this has been such a great social experiment and an opportunity for us to, if we chose and if we continue to choose, it's an opportunity for all of us to stop and smell the roses a little bit and decide, what are we living for and how do we want to live?
I totally relate. And I love that you went into that because, in my, I kind of felt like I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And what have I done? I've just been on this hamster wheel and, and personalities and learning styles are such an important thing. And for me, Like I like to work, and if I have a creative idea and go after it, but I don't have great creative ideas sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day. When I go out for a run or I'm working out or I'm riding my horses, that's kind of when my brain is like digesting and coming up with ideas. And that was one of the reasons I was driven to start my own business, because I was like, I can't survive if I have to spend 30 years sitting at this desk doing something, even if I'm good at it, because it's just like that their life has to be more than that. I mean, money is, you need money, but is it the most important thing?
And that is the question that over the last 2 years, we all have decided to ask ourselves, because it gave us the opportunity to sit back. We're still working. We're just working in our pajamas, or we're thinking differently. We're acting differently. We're more comfortable in our own skin. And when we allow ourselves to take down some of those blinders that we had to put up in order to be successful and contribute to society, when we're allowed to take down some of those barriers, it allows us to think differently. And that's why, as a society, we're in a different position right now, is we were allowed to think differently.
So what do you feel like are some of your core values, or those things that were instilled in you that are important to you, and kind of letting you do this really creative thing of allowing people freedom, but still creating a way that they can support themselves?
So we talked about this before the call, and this is where I get stuck, because this mission for me is really genuine, and I've always been committed to helping women. I come from a line of very, very strong women, and it was never a man's job or somebody else's job to provide for me. I was taught from my great grandmother down that I'm smart and I am capable, and I owe it to, I literally, my great grandmother on down have all of the women have said, it is my goal to be a successful member of society, and it is my job to raise children that are successful members of society. I had no idea what that meant when I was younger, but I do now. And so that's kind of where I'm at, and I am a Gallup certified strengths coach, and what I've learned about myself is that I have significance, and that's one of my themes. And what that means is that it is very hard for me to do work just to check off the box, just to say that it's done. Like that is a soul killer for me. And like when I was in learning and development and in training, there's many times that you just have to create it and it gets stuck on a shelf, and it's just there so that you can tell the government it's done, or you can tell your employees it's done, whatever. Somebody needs it done. And that literally was crushing for me. I just needed more. And so, especially as I started to get into corporate America, I started to become a member of ERG groups, women resource groups. And that was where I found that I really fit. That was where I found that I could contribute, and it felt really good. So I was on ERGs with multiple companies, and then with my last major corporate position at AT&T, I was the president of women of AT&T for the Rocky Mountain region. And again, it's just it started off just being a part of women, being around like-minded people, and wanting to contribute and wanting to give back, and then seeing from multiple levels how to make that happen. And so that's the very long version of
I love it. I love it.
how we got here. I have to contribute, and it's just so important to me to make sure that at the end of the day, that's how I sleep at night, is knowing that that I'm doing something of significance.
So let me ask you a hard question, because I like the idea. I love this idea of like a matchmaking where you take someone who's got a skill set and pairing them with, a corporation or a small company. Um, it almost sounds too good to be true. Like, how can you trust that that's going to work?
I'm laughing because it doesn't work, 100% of the time. It might work 99% of the time. And we're human beings. And so we have to plan that not everything is going to be perfect 100% of the time, because it's just not when you're dealing with humans. But what I can do is take a lot of obstacles out of the way. So we vet our workers. First of all, I'm only trying to control those things that I can. So I'm not making promises for the things that I can't control, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do vet both sides of the coin. I vet the companies just to make sure, which is just a quick phone call, a quick look at the internet, make sure that they are who they say they are, make sure that we're not dealing with just somebody coming on to do something crazy.
Right.
Um, Also, we collect the money up front from the companies, so we would never put our workers in a a position where they would do the work and not get paid. The money is already in there first, and we vet out our workers by number one. This is we can't be all things for all people, so we are mostly women workers,
Mm-hmm.
and we do not discourage anyone. So if there's anyone out there who isn't that would like work, of course, that's still available. But we do a vet out for them as well. So we go through a company called Stripe, which is a company that works on the back end with all banking systems, and they make sure that you have a social security number and a bank account, and so that we are vetting out for any possible fraud.
I love that. That's trying to find that piece of accountability. One of the things, and I think it's kind of like what your company does. When I did my book launch, my manager helped me hire a virtual assistant. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to do that. And one of the things that was interesting, different, like in the military, you kind of learn to get along with whoever, because you don't get to pick who you work with generally. So you're one of
Oh,
the
that's true. Yeah.
is you just learn how to work with almost any kind of personality type. And it was super interesting in this when I'm like, okay, this is my business, and I get to kind of think about what's my personality, and I can hire somebody that's going to complement my personality. It's like I don't have to change who I am.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And especially that's so important, especially if you are an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or a small or even medium business owner, and you're looking to just hire one person that can have your back, correct your spelling mistakes. Anybody that knows me knows that I cannot text. If I send you a text and it does not have a spelling error in it, that I was probably kidnapped. And all of my friends are laughing right now because it's true. Um, so, um, but yes, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to hire somebody that can really help you mesh and cover the places that might be your blind spot. It's also great, let's say if you have a team of 20 people already, and from like a strengths perspective or a personality perspective, if you know that you've got some great superstars, but they just aren't good at the details or the paperwork, then you can find somebody that's just great at that one niche and can deal with or can work with them from a personality perspective that really matches. And because you're hiring based off of project as opposed to a long-term hire, if it isn't a great match, but they did the work and the work is good, you pay them and then you hire somebody else until
Right.
you find somebody that you're like, wow, that's it. I found my person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it really is a benefit to hire first as a freelance or a consultant and then work towards maybe a part-time or full-time.
So for someone who's listening, and I think you're gonna have to explain both sides. So let's say there is a company out there that goes, I am really looking to hire that person that can fill some gaps and do some virtual work. How do they get a hold of you, or what's that process like if they do get a hold of you?
So they can reach out to smartmomgig.com and take a look at the site. There are a ton of videos on there to answer some questions. There's examples of the type of work that we provide, the pricing, like how would I hire? How do I know if it's a good price or not, or how much to expect? So they can go onto the site, do some research. They can send me an email. I do one-on-one consultations literally all day long, and I'm happy to talk to anyone. So they can reach out to me at dawn.wellott@smartmomgig.com. And I'm happy to set up a consultation with them. They can read any of the news articles. We've been fortunate enough to be published in quite a few things. I'm very excited that we have an article coming up in USA Today within the next couple of weeks, as well as Yahoo Finance. So there's if you just research smartmomgig.com, they can reach out to me that way. But I think more importantly is I encourage women to think of themselves as freelancers and consultants. And whether they go with me or as some of the other platforms out there, that's great. We just need women to start thinking of themselves and the skills that they have as valuable, period, as opposed to valuable within the current way that's being consumed, or that work, that their values being consumed through work, which would be the traditional workforce. So as long as women start thinking about themselves as freelancers, we win. Then we all win.
I love that. Just to give us like maybe two examples of the types of places where you've placed people who are working.
Great question. So I just recently, we made a match between a finance company who was looking for, now all of our work is done virtual and it's all online. So we don't help place anybody who is in the office, but we had a finance company that was looking for, people that would actually be coming into the office. They were looking for a very specific skill set. So, and their recruiters were having a very hard time with it. So rather than having their recruiters doing kind of some of that digging work into looking at LinkedIn and some of those other places to try and find this very specific person, they hired us to go in and do that work and find 200 different people that would be good for their recruiters to call. So again, it was saving money from their actual company recruiters doing the work. They were able to pay a very, very good price. For some, it was actually a woman who owned a recruiting agency on her own that picked up this work and did it for a fraction of the cost, and dug in and found some amazing candidates for her recruiters to call. So that's an example of a very specific project. But yeah, we are trusted. We do our best to vet everything through. We have 100% guarantee just in case that 1% does happen. But yeah, we do all kinds of things. We placed there's a gentleman that I know that has an ad agency. He actually handles $40 million worth of advertising spend, and he only has one employee.
Wow.
He uses 15 contractors, freelancers, to do all the additional work. And I actually have this on my website, but he's able to retain 71 cents on a dollar that he makes. He retains 71 cents on a dollar that he makes because he's able to hire for specific skills that he's looking for to execute for his agency. So I think that's a pretty good example, actually.
Those are great examples. And so Dawn, I'm really glad. I'm pretty excited about what you do. I'm definitely going to be referring this out because, and I like that you're just totally transparent because you do the best fit, but not everything is going to work out perfectly, but you do have that accountability because you verify who people are and then you protect the people on both sides. And you can't ask for more than that. And what the thing is that you're available, so if the first situation isn't perfect, you're going to be able to find the fit, and that's all you can ask for. I love it.
And I'm not offering this to everyone, but so for example, it's a learning curve for everyone that hasn't hired freelancers before. And I did have an example of somebody that tried to hire, and they just weren't sure what they were hiring for, and they needed somebody to do some cold calling, and it just wasn't working. And so because we couldn't figure it out, I took the job myself to try and figure out why the match wasn't happening. And we were quickly able to find out why and to solve the issue. Now, I'm not offering that for everyone, clearly, because I just don't have the bandwidth. But that's my level of involvement is
Right.
I will get to the bottom of making sure that both sides are happy. It's I want to keep my moms happy. I want to make sure that they are getting what they need in order to live their best life, and that the companies are getting what they need in order to continue being successful.
So we're just out of time. So Dawn, please go ahead and share with everybody one more time how they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Please just go to smartmomgig.com and take a look. There's multiple ways to contact me there on the site.
Wonderful. So for those of you listening, remember that you can share this interview with your friends. So you might have people that are looking to be a freelancer, or you might be having companies out there that want to find a freelancer. So Dawn has got the best of both worlds and she can do that matchmaking for you. So I can't wait to hear about all your success. Please share your comments below. Share this with all your friends. And I will join you soon with a topic coming up again. I think tomorrow we're actually going to do another interview tomorrow. So can't wait to hear about all your success, and I'll talk with you next time.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dawn.